Hello, Capstone mates. It's Suzanne Pearlman here, and I am excited to be sharing with you my draft ePortfolio. First of all, I just want to say congratulations to my fellow Capstone threeers. We are so close, and Capstone 1 and Capstone 2, it goes by fast, so you're almost there too. So a little bit about myself before we get into my ePortfolio, because this would be for a future employer, really important to know what angle I'm looking at when it comes to what kind of employer or actually contract holder that I would be interested in. So for the last 3 years, I have contracted and run my own business, and I do work around curriculum design and national training mostly. Do some other contracting and consulting, but mostly that's the focus. And then when it comes to curricula, a big focus on mental health, behavioral health, autism, fetal alcohol syndrome, kind of in that lane, and also do a significant amount of work for cultural adaptations for indigenous populations. And so, with that in mind, I really have an emphasis in the oils program on the instructional design and technology. And really, my career goal is to make things more accessible and to remove barriers, particularly for stigmatized or marginalized populations. And so, the focus, the passion of my career is around making things more accessible to have equity and inclusion in the way that things are designed, and also to make sure that culture and different communities are represented. So, this is my intro page of my biography, and what I've done is to focus on merging my work within the oils program as well as my consulting, the work that I already do. So, you'll notice that on here on my webpage, you'll see that a lot of my work is the work that I currently do with some infusion of what I've learned or added as experience as a part of the program. You also can check out my resume and my website by clicking those links. And what I talked about before around removing barriers and having accessibility, you can read a little bit more about my focus down here at the bottom of my biography page. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my internship. I partnered with, and this is the next tab, I partnered with UNM's Department of Psychiatry to focus on removing barriers to access for student athletes at UNM. And so the focus is mental health awareness, and access to care. And so there is a significant amount of just in general population high risk for college age students to have risk of mental health. This is when mental health shows up. Half of all mental illnesses show up by age 14, 75% by age 24. And so the risk of suicide or depressive episodes or anxiety, when there's risk factors like that, can be increased. And so one of the things that's been a challenge in the athletics field is like mental toughness means you don't talk about those things, instead of looking at it more from a lens of, just like with the physical injury, the sooner the intervention is there, the better the outcome. And so that really is the focus of mental health. Over 90% of mental illnesses have effective treatments and interventions, and a lot of times it's just stigma and lack of awareness that create that barrier to care. So you can see that I worked with the head of UNM Psychiatry. My internship supervisor was Dr. Deborah Alchol, and so gives a little bit of information about the background, the need for the program. And the internship itself really began by training all head coaching staff for Lobo Athletics, and then really centered in and focused on UNM Lobo football. As you might be aware, we lost a player to suicide, and there's been some other mental health and substance use challenges that have come up. And so, with the new athletic coaching staff, they really wanted to have a focus on mental health as well. And so, we really wanted to use that as a way to see what kind of outcomes we could have with a specific program. So, you can read more about my internship, and also the evaluation, which we're going to go to the evaluation tab in just a minute. You can look at the samples of the presentations that I gave, as well as one of the major studies that was involved in the program, which was the NCAA study. So, next tab is the evaluation. So, how did I evaluate? And one thing that I talked to Dr. Law about was because of COVID-19, just as I was finishing the final presentation with the football team, moments later, the whole campus shut down. So, I will tell you about what we hope to evaluate, but this program will have to be done again in order to effectively evaluate it. So, the goal really was to look at changes in attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors. And so, really, the goal was through evaluation to see if we could remove the stigma related to mental health or misinformation, and then also increase awareness about the program access that all Lobo Athletics have through UNM's Department of Psychiatry, that if those coaches and training athletic staff were to have more information about how to do that, could we increase access to players? Because players really, through research and studies, look to their coaching staff and their team as their second family. And so if they are encouraging those kind of supports, could we change that narrative? So you can see I kept it really simple on the evaluation tab, just the big picture overview, as Dr. Law said, to hook folks in. And then if they want to read the full evaluation plan, they can. But really just understanding who was the audience, what we were hoping to do, and then look at the outcomes. And so, as I mentioned, you can look at the full evaluation report by clicking on that link down there. However, as I mentioned, just as we finished the training, COVID-19 shut down the university campus. And so, therefore, that included football, that included all Lobo athletics. And so, that also included a lot of students leaving campus and no longer accessing services on campus. And so, we're not able to look at or gather that data. It also meant that even staff at the university were now working remotely. And so those plans were interrupted. So I'm in conversations now to talk about beginning again in the spring. The hope would be that we'd actually have to start all over because coaching staff as well as players have high rates of, especially staff, high rates of turnover. And so, in order to really effectively implement the program, it means start to finish having that same cohort, really to impact the culture of athletics. So finally, the final tab is my program synthesis. And there at the top is a picture of the very first training, which was with all the heads of coaching for all Lobo Athletics. And we did that in September of 2019 when we were kicking things off for the internship. And so my program synthesis really just focuses on how I really found a richness by being able to be consulting and contracting at the same time as going through the oils program. I was able to immediately apply the lessons learned and really look at things through the lens of both a student and a contractor. I also wanted to add that I really appreciated the focus of the oils program and the lens of culture. That's a really, as I mentioned before, something that I'm really passionate about, not only focusing on, but also checking for blind spots for myself and supporting other people as we kind of look internally to what kind of implicit bias and other things that we have. And so I really appreciated courses where we were able to look at culture and also be able to look at the way that we design and develop the curriculum, the training programs that we have. It just really made it immediately applicable. Additionally, talking about adult learners and how we design and develop for adult learners and the opportunities that have really come up through working through the oils program and my internship, but also, and I want to share with you some of my artifacts, also some opportunities that came up during the time that I was doing my internship that I would want an employer to know about, that I would say are connected to the program experience that I had because I was able to apply learning. And so just a couple of quick things that I'll share with you that you can see when you come to my ePortfolio page, that I was going to be speaking at a conference about some of the work that I do. And these are carousels, so you could just click to see more information. I filmed some training videos as a opportunity for current instructors of a program that I train to be able to go and use that as a resource in developing their own training. I was able to publish an article about mental health and foster care and training. And then I included a couple of components from the oils program, including an instructional design case, being able to look at a case and look at it from the lens of a designer, as well as my professional design statement, really where do I stand, which helped me to develop some of these other pieces of my ePortfolio. So that is my overview of my ePortfolio. I'm really excited to hear your feedback and your thoughts and your input. And I just want to thank everyone. This has been, I think, our final assignment that we get to get feedback from each other. And so I just want to give a big thank you to everyone for being a part of my oils experience. And it's exciting to be wrapping it up together with you. So thank you.